So, October 13, 2012, I lose my father. Yes, from cancer. 2 months, 1 day from my college graduation. Crazy, right? That's the kind of thing that's going to shift and change your life, tremendously. I graduated in December. It's May now. Nothing. I can't even get a job at Walmart. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to the Air Force. I got to do something. I can't sit here. So I do that. I leave and I feel defeated. So defeated. I go to the Chili's and I was like, you know what? I want the largest margarita you got. Because I was like, I'm not getting a call back and I'm going to the Air Force. So I get down to my last $100, or my last spending $100. You're right where you need to be at. It's easier said than done. I know it sucks and you get tired of hearing that, but it is the truth.
This is the RNB Show.
Man, welcome back to the RNB Show. The real and bold show. For this episode today, I wanted to take you on a little bit of a journey, getting to know a little bit more about me, or more about my story, more about my testimony and the things that I've endured, things that I'm enduring, so you get a better appreciation. Because what a lot of people have been hearing me talk about lately is you always see people where they're at and you don't see what they came from or even what they're going through. So look, before we get into all that, go ahead and hit the like button. Put a comment in the caption, in the chat. Let us know that you're here. Share this with somebody. Subscribe if you haven't, because we can't be cool if you haven't. And if you're looking to create a space, you're looking to create your own podcast, or just create some great content all together, you're in the right place. Journeywell Studios, and I'm going to put all that information in and check them out. So, October 13, 2012, I lose my father. Yes, from cancer. 2 months, 1 day from my college graduation. Crazy, right? That's the kind of thing that's going to shift and change your life, tremendously. I'm in, a transition stage. I mean, to be honest with you, outside of that, life was going really great them last 6 months. I had landed one of the most sought out internships in my field doing project management while still being, in college. I'm graduating. A lot of people don't make it to graduate college. I'm having fun with my friends. I'm doing all kinds of stuff. I'm having all these great experiences. At the time, money is not an issue. I'm not choosing between toilet paper and piece of rolls. I'm, think things are good. But that was a key moment, because from there, it shifted so much of my timeline. It shifted so much of everything that I was going. For, some people that know, my first love was music, drumming. That's what I thought I would always do. I'm in school, on an academic and band scholarship. I've been drumming and in music since the age of 11. Planning on, when I graduate, I'm going to be in IT. I'm going to be in project management. I'm going to climb the corporate ladder. I want to be this, the CTO of a Fortune 500 company. Those were my aspirations. That's where I said, that's where I'm going to make my bread. That's where I'm going to make my mark. That's where the importance of me is going to be tied into. And I'll still be doing music. I'll still be drumming. I'll play at churches. I'll play for gigs. I'll play for bands, because that was just a part of me. Well, 5 days before graduation, everything comes to a screeching halt. Why? Because that's where I found out that the place that I've been interning for the last 6 months was not going to hire me. And they wasn't going to hire me on a technicality of them and not having proper communication. So one of the biggest goals is, when you graduate, that you have a job in your back pocket when you're leaving. like a good job. You set up, like, I mean, I've already picked my apartment. I got furniture, like, set up. I already got, waiting for my offer letter because the car that I'm about to go get off the lot. Like that was my graduation present for me. But then all that shifts. So saying that this situation of me losing my father was another shift. And because during his funeral, the company I wanted to work for the most came to our campus unannounced. And then they had filled up all their spots. They were doing on the spot interviews and everything else. I come back, found out it's too late, reached out. Cool. All right. Now, this highly sought out job is pulled from me in the last 5 days. And now all I can do is just go home, you know. Not only just go home, like, you don't have nothing to look forward to. Like, that's your first huge blow. And to me, honestly, it took away from my graduation. Like, yeah, I graduated, but the whole goal was to have something for it. So, but we going somewhere. So I go home, back home, good old Kentwood, Louisiana. And it's me and my mom, you know, move her into a new house. My sisters are in college. I'm just like, okay, cool. We just gonna fill out applications. 1 month goes by, nothing. 2 months go by, nothing. I'm not even getting rejection emails. It's just radio silence. It's not my GPA. I have the experience. I'm just not even getting an opportunity. And there's been a theme in my life that oftentimes I never had a chance to prove myself or show what I'm capable of, or just being just generally passed over. So, we go, and I'm like, maybe it's May now. I graduated in December. It's May now. Nothing. I can't even get a job at Walmart. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to the Air Force. I gotta do something. I can't sit here. I can't chill, do this. I gotta go to the Air Force. And so I tell my mom about this, and she's like, no, 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 son. Look, let's give it 2 weeks. If you don't hear nothing in 2 weeks, then you go ahead and go. So I was like, all right, Ma, I'm gonna give it 2 weeks. And right before the 2 weeks, I get a call from IBM to come interview. Literally my first interview since December. I've been to job fairs. I've reached out to recruiters. I reached out to people that I know. First interview. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go in. They're not really hiring for what I want to do and what I went to school for, but it's in my, I did it in my degree. So I go into this interview, and they put me through the ringer. I through the ringer. I'm talking about I'm sweating in the middle of my chest during the middle of this interview. Like there's no way in this technicality of degree of tech you asking me these types of questions. And for a person who just graduated, I know the stuff, but they was like, well, we're not going to give you computers. I want you to write this code out on paper. I want you to write this database out on paper. And it's not even stuff I want to do. So I do that. I leave, and I feel defeated. So defeated. I go to the Chili's, and I was like, you know what? I want the largest margarita you got. Because I was like, I'm not getting a call back, and I'm going to the Air Force. So I wait about 2 more weeks. And no, I think I waited about 2 more weeks. And then I get a call, and they offer me the job. The amazing thing about this, I was getting ready to go back to my hometown of DeQuincy, because it was like graduation and everybody was going back and stuff. Um, and I'm like, at the time I had nothing to show, and I didn't want to go back somewhere where I couldn't say that, hey, I graduated and ain't got nothing for me. So they hire me, but then they hire me $20,000 under market value. and said there was no room for negotiation. Well, I had to take it because I had nothing else. So I took it. But, I went back to DeQuincy and the people asked me, "Hey, Roland, man, what you doing?" Oh, I'm an application developer at IBM. I'm out here, doing it, making it do what it do. Um, which gave me a little boost of confidence, but it did help transition into that second space. Hindsight is I really need to be home for about 7 months because it also helped my mom transition through grieving and go part through the grieving process because she wasn't home alone. My sisters are not there, you know, and so it's just me and her. And then she also gets to relearn me even more because I've grown so much. Um, as a person going off in college. I've grown so much as a man, and she got to see a lot more of who I really am. What's my tendencies, what my personalities, what I like to do, what I don't like to do, um, in that sense. And now I'm closer to home because guess what? IBM's opening up in Baton Rouge, so I'm an hour away from my mom, and my sisters are in college at Southern University. So that means I can keep an eye out on things. I can help them. I can go to the college when I need to, um, and so forth. So you get in and I start working at IBM and I never felt comfortable there. Like it was some kind of looming doom there. I just never felt comfortable. But I met people, I met my tribe and so forth. Um, I started working out like for real. I ain't never really worked out before, so your boy be in the gym. But I get there and then God calls me to go into the military, like National Guard. And I was like, okay, I'm not trying to do none of that. Like I got my nice place here. I'm in my degree. I'm trying to go make this money. Um, but he calls me into the National Guard. So I leave for basic training, maybe like 7 months into working IBM. Um, and I learned so much about myself and what I'm capable of, and things that a lot of people don't know. We always talk about there was nothing new created under the sun because God created everything. God created the military as well. We always want to talk about the army of the Lord and all that kind of stuff, but a lot of times people don't understand how to fight and how things translate from heaven onto earth. Um, in that order of military, which is also another reason why, I love band because band comes from the military, which a lot of people don't know, or marching band. So I go there, I come back, I get moved into a completely different role that I have no training for, and they sell me as a subject matter expert in this role. And so, I'm working 60, 70-hour weeks at IBM because I'm trying to teach myself the job to go do the job for clients and everything else. Because there, we always went to work for different clients. So maybe like Toshiba or Ford, and we're building apps or websites and programs, testing, and so forth. But I never really felt comfortable. But I did a lot there. I did photography there because I just started, you know, a little bit with photos and stuff, um, with their cameras and everything else. I did a little bit of, hiring, um, going to marketplaces, beating people, looking over their interviews, and I did onboarding for a lot of the different people coming in for Macs because I set up all the Macs and stuff. So for everybody was like, "Oh, well, Roland's golden. Roland's golden. That's going to be a problem with him." Well, the problem is in this place, if you're not on a project, is what you call the bench. You're riding the bench, and after so far, stuff starts to add up, and then they're going to say, "Hey, you're a liability." They'll let you go. Well, the situation was my manager would withhold me from projects because she needed me on her team as a lead, but she couldn't secure the projects for the team. So what ended up happening is me and the other team lead ended up getting let go so she can keep her job. And she knew that she blocked us um, from jobs. And the crazy thing is, as you're looking for these projects, the next day after I get let go of IBM, on a Monday, just bought a car, just signed a new lease. Let's talk about that. Um, I get a call from a client, one of IBM's clients, like, "Hey, we want to bring you on to this project," which would have saved my job. But sadly, I had to say, I am no longer employed at IBM. And that was another shift because what I didn't know at the time that my self-worth and my identity was wrapped up into my job. You know, um, at the time, I'm still a little bit. I'm still confident that I'm like, look, I've been working for IBM a few years. I got I got the resume. I got the experience. You see the thing. You see the thing. I got the resume. I got the experience. And lo and behold, 1 month turns to one, to two, to three, and now I'm going through my 401k. I'm going through my savings because there's nothing coming in except for the church that I'm playing for as a drummer and the military. So at this time, I've slipped into depression. I don't know it, but I'm just sleeping away. Nobody's answering, emails. I can't leave the state because my unit won't sign my out of state transfer, so I have to work within the state. And at the time, I'm in a relationship, and just to be honest, every time at when she got off of work, all I'm hearing is just like how woe is me, and I'm like I'm going through all this, and I gotta listen to what you think is bad. So I get down to my last $100, like my last spending $100. Um, And I'm like, well, nothing happens after this month. I'm gonna have to default on my apartment. I'm gonna have to like move home, figure some stuff out, whatever. So with the last $100, at that time, I used to do heavy CrossFit. I was CrossFit, I would compete, everything else. But I had stopped doing it because I couldn't afford it. I was like, go back to CrossFit. Well, the CrossFit was gonna cost me my last $100. He's like, go back to CrossFit and you're gonna go to CrossFit today. So you know, regretfully, I listened and I went and I met somebody that I used to work out with. And I just shared him what I was going through. And then from there, later on that day, I get a call from him. He's like, "Hey man, I work as a land surveyor, like, in the office, like, one of the managers, and um we're actually looking for somebody. And I know you ain't went to school for this or anything else, but you're very smart and I think you'll pick it up and we'll take care of you. I want you to come meet the owner tomorrow." So I go meet the owner the next day. The guy hires me on the spot and, hires me at a pretty decent pay. It wasn't what I was making, but um, it was enough to keep me afloat, well enough. And so, God comes through and then I take on this other journey. You know, all through this, I still have this camera that I really haven't touched. And, you know, one day I'm gonna talk about how I got the camera, but my whole thing is something shifted from IBM of me wanting to be more of a provider for myself because my whole mindset was if I had a family, if I was taking care of something, having an entity to be able to take away my livelihood, how that could damage so many people and so much stuff and damage me, how I went through it. So now I'm like $20,000 in debt, in credit card debt because I had a whole bunch of open credit because I wanted to flip houses and stuff like that. I was working towards that. Um, but now I'm just at an even kill. I'm not making enough to really get out of anything or do anything. Um, some drastic changes just has to be made. And then my sisters were moving out of their apartment. They found this 3-bedroom like house thing rental, and they were like, "Yo, you can come live with us." And so I tuck my little tail and I go over there, and then we start this other process. But the beauty in that situation, living with, these are the only siblings I could live with. The other ones I would kill by day 3, just straight up. But going through that, living through that, getting to know my siblings that God has called us to do life together, and being able to be a triangle that we're helping each other in different ways, and watch us all go through different um, life problems and stuff together. So I go through that for a little bit. Um, and then at one point, the owner of maybe a year and a half in of the surveying company calls me into his office after a day, and he was like, "Hey, Roland," he said, "I don't want to be a hindrance to you. And I know land surveying is not what you truly want to do or where you really need to be at. Now," he said, "now look, if you want to do this, I'll pay for you to go back to school so you can get your license, and I'll put you in the office and start you at 6 figures. But if not, I don't want to be that stepping s- that that ho- well holding not stepping stone but stumbling block." So he's like, "How about I get you 30 days to find another job, and then we'll just shake hands, or if you change your mind, then we'll go the other route." And so I'm like, "Oh snap, I'm about to go through this all over again." And this time I don't have the funds to like withstand any of this. So I was like, "Hey, I'll do 90." Because I knew it just wasn't meant for me to do that. So I'll go 90. He's like, "We'll meet in the middle. We'll go 45." And so right then and there, my world is crumbling once again. And before I left out of there, God said, "Do not tell any of your coworkers." He said, because, you got the field crew and the office crew, and the field crew is very close knit. So I was like, "I'm not going to say anything." Cool. So 45 days come and go, and I've went through all these different interviews, nothing's working, and I'm on the 45 day on a Friday. I'm at an interview to be one of the guys for the Brinks truck. So like, we're gonna carry the money. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have our pistols on us. You know, we gonna get the bag, literally and figuratively. Um, so I walk in, the manager was like, "Man, your resume is amazing, but why are you applying to work here?" He said, "You should not be here." And I was like, "I know." And I gave him the whole spiel. I was like, "Look, this is my situation I'm in, and I just need a job. I'm a hard worker. I'll do everything else." He like, "You're the kind of person we look for." But he says, "I spend a lot of money into the people that I bring in to train. Like I spend about 15, 20,000 just in training and equipment and everything else." So he said, "I would need like a commitment for a year at least, just a minimum of a year for me to be able to hire you to make sense for me in the company. And then from there, you go into greener pastures." And I was like, I started to lie, not to tell him the truth when he was asking me everything. But like I was burning up inside. I knew it was the Holy Spirit was like, "You need to tell him the truth." So he was like, "Well, I can't hire you, but if you change your mind, come talk to me." So I walk out on a Friday. It's doomsday because Monday I'm not supposed to have a job. Um, and I don't have anything. I talked to my family, and they're just like, "What you gonna do?" You know, the person I was in a relationship at the time called me crazy and dumb and stupid. Um, but was misproven by its results. Um, but I told them this. I said, "Well, I'm gonna go back to work on Monday, and I'm gonna go back to work on Tuesday. And I'm gonna keep going back to work until they tell me to stop, because I know what God told me, and He didn't give me no other options or no other instructions. So I'm gonna continue going to work until something happens." So I go back to work on that Monday. The owner's not there. Cool. I go back to work Tuesday. I don't see him. I go back to work Wednesday. We look at each other. Now you got to understand, of knowing the owner of this company, his word is his bond. He mean what he say, and he say what he mean. He just kind of look at me. He don't say nothing. And so this goes on for 45 more days, the 90 days, until I land downtown with the state. So I was in a state of everyday faith until I landed somewhere else, because each day could have been my last day. And till that last day is when my coworkers found out everything that was going on. So the beauty of this next transition, as God was pushing me out the door because I probably was a little too comfortable, but he was pushing me out the door. But this would birth where I'm at now, because I go down to the state that I said I was going to do like a year till I became permanent and move for another job. And it was the worst job ever in my life. I hated every single day of that. I literally hated waking up to go to that job. But from there, I met a mentor, and then I met a friend. The name was Lance McCaleb, that actually ignited the passion of actually pursuing photography. From there, out of that was Roland Vision was created, because I said I was going to do a year and then I was going to transfer somewhere else. But then I did 6 months. I came back from a military training and God said, start looking for my job then. And then I ended up at LSU, where I'm currently at right now. But not for too much longer. And that's what got me to where I was at. The thing that I always struggled with and dealt with is because I can never beat the I'm rich allegations, and I'm far from it. I've had to battle debt, overcome it, go back into it, overcome it. I've had to battle feeling like I'm constantly behind because never making the amount of money that I went in to go do, compared to my peers. Even to the point that maybe like 2 years ago, I ran into a great friend that was like, bro, we can get you hired on the spot right now. We can get you hired on the spot right now. And so um, we could fly you to Dallas. You give us a number. We got you, because of so much that I did for him at IBM. And so, but here I am today, taking a step at a time. I am, working through my business. I'm working through my personal brand. I'm still not where I'm at, I'm still not where I'm at financially like I would love to be. But, a lot of things we just see on, you know, social media. We see on things, and I get messages all the time. Hey man, and you living the life. I need to live like you. I want to do this. I want to do that. And, you know, if it wasn't for the grace of God and the opportunities that has been brought to me, it's just like, people be like, you really paid $1,500 a night to go out of the country and stay in that villa? And I'm like, no, that would be financial irresponsibility for me. But the beauty of picking up the camera and understanding that was my true love and what I'm truly called for, um, is what truly helped me. And it's opened more doors. It has opened up more opportunities that my job has never, never, never closed to open. Even if I was still, the full-time exec, you know, the CTO, there's been opportunities that has opened the door for me with the camera alone that has blown my wildest dreams, and it's only going to get better. Like, it's literally only going to get better. So I wanted to share some of that. I wanted to provide, some insight, because first and foremost, when I am rich, there will be signs. I'm not going to tell you, but there will be signs. Um, and, you know, to give people grace, a lot of times we compare ourselves to others and we don't understand what people are going through. We don't understand the battles, whether it's mental battles, spiritual battles, relational battles, physical battles, emotional battles, financial battles, that people are going through. And, we need to give ourselves grace, and we need to give others people grace, because you just never know. You just never know. And then on top of that, like they say, tell God your plans and he'll laugh. You never know where you'll be positioned to, because his plans are better than our own. Yeah, I would make a great, like right now, I would be making, if everything worked out in the way that it would have been, I would be making at least $250,000 right now in my field, by how I was already positioning myself, you know. That's cool and all. But I'm in a place and a space that I'm gonna have my own freedom. I'm going to be able to scale and build that it take care of other people and other families and other generations, and to have the ability to make way more than I would have ever imagined. That's the beauty of God's plan. And that's the beauty of learning everything, of being now knowing that my identity is within Him and not within what I do, or position or title that I hold. Um, Having the ability to go through things, so now I have resilience to continue to go forth and help others. Um, and to meet the beautiful people that I would have never met just naturally always working a 9 to 5 in an office or a corner office at that time, some high rise and so forth. But that's a little bit of my story. That's a little bit of my testimony. And I just wanted to share that just to give you some light, so y'all could just give me some credits and chill out. Stop asking me for $500 in the DMs. Stop, like, hey man, you doing great, man. Hey, I'm going through, look, bro, I'm trying to make it too, you know. But I just wanted to share, so hopefully this resonates with others, that people that are feeling like they haven't made it to where they need to be and the time they need to be at. You're right where you need to be at. It's easier said than done. I know it sucks and you get tired of hearing that, but it is the truth. You just keep breathing, you keep winning each day, you keep putting one foot in front of the other, and then the next thing you know, you look back, you be thankful for what you actually went through, because it prepared you for where you're going. So, I hope y'all enjoyed it. Thank y'all for the time that you've listened. And I just, real quick, every person that's at this point that's here and listening, I do not take your time for granted. Time is such a luxury because it's the one thing we don't get back. So I appreciate you for tuning in for this one. I love you. And always remember, keep on rolling. And you can stop recording.